Let's move on to managing users. The identity consolidation of Unix users associated to Active Directory accounts can be performed without service interruption. Now, the process should be part of your deployment plan as you consider new accounts with privilege, existing accounts with privilege, and shared account password management. These and other areas are going to help you in the zone design, where systems will be stored within the Centrify management environment. Once these are determined, users can be added to zones, configured with just enough privilege where needed. Local account management is an important element where privilege is concerned. The Centrify Access Manager is going to facilitate a large portion of the management when it comes to users. But there are aspects of local user management that is still required at the computer level. It is important to note that Centrify Access Manager does have the ability to centrally manage users in groups and establish Unix user profiles for local user accounts. However, Centrify Access Manager does not provide read access to local users and groups, or act as a mechanism for cleaning up the etc password or etc group files. So let's run through the process of manually creating users for Unix systems. Using Access Manager, we can locate the Unix computer object where the user is going to be added. We can simply right-click on the computer and select Add User. We'll then be prompted to determine if the user is an AD user or a local Unix user. When adding an Active Directory user, we'll simply click Browse and find the AD account that we plan to add. Now, to facilitate the identity consolidation, we can define the Unix profile and assign Centrify roles to the account. Now, when defining the Unix profile, we can configure specific settings including the login username, UID, primary group, and home directory. The other option when managing users on the Unix systems is to import users from the etc password file. Now, the etc password file as well as the etc group file can be exported using a third-party tool or the deployment manager. In many cases, Unix users and groups will be imported, and to import those Unix users, expand the Unix computer and right-click on the Unix data and select Import from Unix. Now, as mentioned before, we can import users directly from Deployment Manager, from NIS domains, or from an exported file. In this example, we're going to use the exported files. We simply click Browse and locate the exported file to import. Keep in mind, this will apply to both the etc password file and the etc group file, but it is not necessary to do both of them at the same time. Once we've imported the etc password and etc group files, we can apply filter options to include system accounts and automatically shorten Unix names to 8 characters. We can also choose Active Directory or XML if they're being imported to a different directory service. And the final step is to confirm the import and include a data conflict check during the import process to prevent duplicates or changes to the existing accounts. Now, the import process is only the first step. Now that we have the users in place, we want to consolidate them. This requires us to check the status on those users and compare them to Active Directory. When we import users, they're put into a pending status, so we have to accept them. In order to do that, we need to select the users we want to consolidate with Active Directory and select Check Status. We'll then check the Unix users against Active Directory domains for its matching AD account. Once the status is complete, we'll locate the best Active Directory account user candidate, which will be shown in a separate column associated to the Unix account. If it's correct, then we can simply accept those changes. Now, the same is true for pending groups. When creating a new group, you'll designate a container where the group is going to be stored. Now, in this particular example, we do have a group that we exported from a Unix system called users. The difficulty here is that we do have an Active Directory group called users. But these are going to be different groups. So what we want to do is we want to create a new group associated to this particular computer, identifying it as a Unix system and a Unix user group. So within the Centrify OU, there is a predefined container for Unix groups. And it is recommended to name the groups with an easy to understand group name, following organizational practices, or Centrify best practices. Now, in this example, we are using an organizational practice of the company name underscore object type underscore group description, or as you can see from the diagram, Omicron underscore group underscore Unix underscore help desk users. Now, once we've identified our users and our groups and imported them into that computer object, we can now check the effective user rights. In order to do this, we can simply right-click on the computer and select Show Effective User Rights. Now, it is important to note that the first time you check effective rights after doing an import on a system, there may not be any Unix users listed. This is because a role assignment hasn't been applied. So in order to see the users, we need to show omitted users, shown in the top right of this particular diagram. This will give us a listing of all the users that we've added. Now, each user's effective rights will be displayed as part of a role assignment, exclusive PAM rights, commands, or SSH rights. And as you can see, nothing has been assigned to these particular users. So let's take a look at a technical demonstration on how we're going to create and import users and groups.